Everybody, welcome in. I'm WUSA3 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy. Got a little severe weather that we are tracking here this afternoon. We've been watching storms coming out of the St. Louis area for much of the day, and we've got just a small little, what we call a little line segment with some storms where we've got some severe weather that's starting to take shape. So for those of you that are watching us down into portions of Christian County, into Shelby County there, new severe thunderstorm warning. Pana, this is about to be kind of right on top of you guys towards Shelbyville as well. We're going to be dealing with really strong gusty winds with this as they continue to move off here.
Thank you. Just make sure.
To the east. And so you can see the area there under that warning. And there is the potential for 60-mile-per-hour winds with this. And so that's the big concern that we've got right now is that storm basically goes off here to the east. What we'll do is we'll put a little bit of a loop on this. You can kind of see the movement. And they're racing off there to the east. And so Shelbyville down the line, maybe Sullivan as well, we'll be seeing this storm come in. And again, what you're looking at right there on the radar is the current severe thunderstorm warning with that cell. We'll zoom in even closer for you. You can see it is going to be crossing 51 there before too long. Pana to Assumption. Again, this is severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning. The biggest threat right now are going to be those winds. Down the line, you're talking Tower Hill into the Shelbyville area and over the lake and even Windsor to Sullivan. That's the area that this line is going to move across. And we can kind of show you the wider view. There's a longer line that extends even more south of I-70. But right now, the biggest issue is going to be right here, just coming into Pana. Some small hail is possible, but we're not looking at anything major in terms of hail. You're talking hail size, technically what is below the criteria. These are wind makers more than anything. You may have noticed there is also a tornado watch that is in effect. And so the tornado watch here goes until 6 p.m. for the counties in yellow. And yes, could one of these storms have a brief little spin up? It is possible, but we think that the threat still is relatively low, but it is not zero. Wind, probably the bigger threat. But an isolated tornado is still possible. But they are starting to trim away the counties on this. As soon as that line that we're tracking gets by, then that severe weather threat is going to go down. So you can see Springfield, you're already out of it because that front has passed through. So we're literally just looking at this small line because, and I'm going to show you this, look at our temperatures. This is so interesting. The temperature profile that we've got, there is a clear warm front. And right now, it's riding right along I-74. I mean, just amazing. 47 in Springfield, Decatur, 46 in Champaign. You get just south of that, and you've got these 60s. Paris, I mean, it's 71 in Effingham. This is the area of concern. This is the primed area. We're not concerned for areas north of I-74 because that warmth hasn't quite made it in there. So again, that's why the biggest threat right now is going to be across areas near I-70, close to that on either side of that. And that's where the severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect. It's a pretty intense storm that's coming into Pana and right there along 51. Heading down towards Ramsey, and we have got that severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect. I know there's a lot of people that are tuned in and watching here with us right now. Let us know where you are watching from in the chat that's out there right now. We monitor the chat that you guys are in here with us, and so we'd love to hear where you guys are coming to us from, and then we can maybe sometimes give some more specific kind of now casting and analysis on what is going on if we know where some of you are tuning in from. So again, I encourage all of you guys to go ahead and just type in the chat wherever it is that you guys are tuning in from, and we would love to kind of hear from you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your areas. I believe we saw some people there that are possibly near the Shelbyville area that are watching right now. The other thing that I will mention as well, if you are watching us, I know some people are watching us on Facebook. Some of them are watching on Twitter. Some are watching on YouTube. We provide several different avenues for you to get our signal out there when we have severe weather. And there's other places you can get us, and that is actually also on the news and the weather apps. Okay, and we have live streaming that is located on those as well. So we encourage you, if you have not downloaded our apps before, to go ahead and do that, and then you can watch this same live stream on there as well. So I encourage you to check that out. Okay, we have got, again, severe thunderstorm warnings that continue to be in effect for portions of Shelby and Moultrie and Christian County. You're looking at that view out there. I know we've also got Jacob Dickey, who's out in the storm tracker for us. And so we're going to be watching him as well and checking in with him if he's got any reports as well. As I was just kind of mentioning there, if you are curious about how to get any of our apps, there's a way for you to do so pretty easy. We've made it very easy for you. All you've got to do is check out this right here, and that's going to be, boom. You can download our app, scan that QR code right there, and that will take you to where you can download the WSA3 Weather app. So go over there and scan that QR code if you don't have that, or you're not watching, because that's just another way that you can get our signal is by downloading the app there, the news or the weather app, and you can watch our live streams on there at any time that we are on. But I know a lot of you are joining us here right now. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to kind of glance at some of the people. We got some people watching us from Windsor right now. Looks like some more people watching us from, let's see here, looks like over in Shelbyville, all of that good stuff, Christian County.
We've got a couple from Vermilion County too as well.
Vermilion
Westville and Danville.
Vermilion County checking in with us as well. I'll say this for those of you over in Danville. I know we've got a lot of loyal viewers over there in Vermilion County that love tuning in and watching us. I'll say this, you guys are largely in the clear. The severe weather threat is going to stay confined for areas basically down here, okay? And so we're not concerned about so much areas here north of I-74, but we're going to watch areas here, like into Edgar County before too long, into Coles County, into Clark County, all of those areas here. We're going to have to watch out for the potential for severe weather. Basically, this line here, as it moves off here to the north and to the east, we're going to be dealing with, again, that severe weather threat as we go throughout the next kind of 90 minutes or so, and it's mainly a wind damage threat that we've got more than anything as this moves off here to the east. And so you can see some of those more intense reds. Okay, that's what we're concerned about. And it looks like there's a new warning here. We've got a new warning now that does include Effingham and Jasper, Shelby County there. The nice thing is we've got cameras out there that we can check out in Effingham, and it's going to give us a view of the storm as it gets closer. Still a little bit off, but we'll go ahead and just kind of plop up the camera there in Effingham for right now, kind of show you what it looks like. Again, that is the view that we'll be watching as storms approach down in the Effingham area with mainly a wind damage threat. 60-mile-an-hour winds with any of this. What we'll do next is try to put a little bit of a path on this, because you can see now, just look at all the counties that have warnings on them. They've basically fanned out this entire line and said, all right, this whole line may have severe weather with it. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to draw a line, okay? We're going to draw a line along this, and then we're going to take this out at its current speed. Can you get a speed? What do we got on the line here for the speed of this? And that'll help me kind of track this out, show the towns and locations. I think we're looking at maybe 40 to 50 miles an hour.
45 is within some of these.
Right.
We're east at 60 for this warning.
Oh, that
Effingham.
Oh my goodness. Okay, 60.
That one picked up.
All right. Well, let's we're gonna stay there between. Let's say right there. That looks pretty good. So that right here, this shows all of your counties or all of the cities that will eventually be impacted by this with this line of severe storms. You're talking Shelbyville, you're talking Effingham at 347. I mean, that's just 27 minutes away as that line is going to be coming in. So it's at that kind of speed, you've got a half an hour here before a lot of towns are impacted. You're looking there at Charleston and then even down towards Casey, finding that in about an hour or so. That's clear down here. on the far end of our kind of forecast fan that we put out, but you can see just some of the areas that are going to be impacted. So look out for those winds picking up.
Jacob says he's just outside of Altamont, out that way. So
Jacob's
not too far from Effingham.
Okay, so Jacob's down in Altamont, and so we're going to be watching his live stream coming up here and kind of getting an idea of what he's seeing. But again, the strongest part of that is going to be coming into Effingham County. Notice on the northern end of this, there's still some pretty intense returns coming back to us here on radar. Just past Pana, but now Shelbyville, Cowden, and eventually down the line Sullivan will be seeing impacts from this storm as it comes into the area. So again, all of those spots are places that we are watching from. Again, you can download our weather app to stay up to date with the very latest. You just scan that QR code and actually it will take you to the page where you can download our news or weather app. Any of those that you would like, and you can watch our streaming on there as well via the app if you don't have Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or some of the different ways. So however you would like to get the app, it is right there, and that's how you get it, and it's free. That's the cool thing as well.
Kevin, I will mention that Sullivan, right outside Sullivan there, Christian County, even parts of Shelby County already had a severe thunderstorm warning earlier this morning. That's where we saw some more of the hail threat, some chunkier storms than what we're seeing now. Now we're looking more at the wind threat here instead of the hail threat with this storm. So just keep that in mind. Wind was one of the things we were talking about all morning about being a concern here in central Illinois. You know, some of these storms having those strong wind gusts, not necessarily tornadoes with them, but necessarily seeing the stronger straight line winds of potential as well. That was one of our focuses for this morning when doing the forecast. And again, Shelby County, it's not too far from Sullivan there in Christian County, another spot that had warnings already. So some spots are getting their second, maybe third warning of the day. Just keep that in mind. This is one of those days where having that weather radio, having that weather app, our weather app there, WCI3 weather app there, that's a free download as well. And that's really helpful to have multiple ways, even us on air and even some of that on the crawl, that'll really help get your attention here as these storms roll on in and we see more chances of storms pushing through to the east here.
Okay, so our storms that we're looking at here are pushing into places like Cowden in the next few minutes, Shelbyville here as well. We can zoom in even more to show you the exact area. Basically along that line, Tower Hill, you just got that storm right on top of you. And that stretches, again, now just passed through the Herrick area. Beecher City, it'll be heading there and crossing over Highway 128 here in the next few minutes. Stewartson, Strasburg, all of you guys, and then heading there into northern portions of Effingham County as the position of this and the movement of this is to the east and at a pretty rapid pace. You can see now when you put the loop on it, the northern kind of portion of that line is up here into Shelby County and it stretches all the way down here through Fayette County, and now you're talking Shelby, southern Moultrie, all of Effingham County. That will see that potential for some strong winds here, 60 miles per hour. Really strong winds are going to be out there, and you could have even that quick little spin up of a tornado because we have the tornado watch that is in effect until 6 p.m. Now, I still think that the biggest threat is that wind with this, because it's so interesting too with these temperatures. Just wild to watch the temperature profile here kind of set up where it's 46 in Champaign, 47 in Decatur, and then you get down here and here's your little warm sector. This is where you're going to have the potential for severe weather because, I mean, hey, it's 70 degrees down here in Effingham right now. Speaking of Effingham again, we're going to keep checking back in on our camera view and we have to kind of pan it around a little bit, but we're going to watch that storm kind of come in. You can already see the camera is shaking there just a little bit for us here with the initial kind of push of that line that's coming in there to the west, and all of that happening as we speak. We're just going to kind of watch this. Hopefully it can weaken. There is limited ingredients today. We do not have a ton of what is known as instability. And that instability is very low, but we have a very high amount of shear, and so that's kind of the trade-off there is, well, sometimes you have a lot of shear, you have limited instability. It doesn't always take a ton of the instability to get things going. Let's see here. Let's take a look at the radar, and that storm is continuing to make its way off there into eastern portions of Shelby County, and that's where the strongest winds are located. When we kind of just try to take a look at this from the standpoint of the velocity, to look at the winds, notice the bright greens that show up here. And so that's right on that edge, the leading edge of this. The leading edge of this is why we've got the severe thunderstorm warning with it, because of the strong winds that you could get right there. And so we can kind of come there and we can look at, hey, what are these winds doing here? And so you've got stronger winds with this. Expecting some areas like Findlay, Bethany, Stewartson, Sullivan, Lovington, Windsor, all possibility to get some of those winds.
We've got Jacob up already there for you. If you want to pull him up there, Kevin.
Okay, so let's see here. So there's Jacob's feed. Jacob is out there. He's got a train. He's coming up there. We've got, is he stuck? No, I think he's coming up there to a train. That looks to be, gosh, I think I know where that area is too. Jacob, can he, I don't know if you guys can unmute, can you unmute that over there, or pull him up so I can,
He should be
so I
on.
can see him. He's showing us. Yeah, just unmute the TV there for a second. Jacob, can you hear us? And go ahead and chat with us if you can. I'm not sure if he can, if he's talking or not. You let me know if he starts chiming in over there on that.
He's in Altamont, he says.
He's in Altamont, okay. Well, we have his shot up there. If he's got anything, he can just let me know if he needs to chat with us or whatnot. Otherwise, we'll just keep kind of tracking things and keep an eye on his shot as he moves across our southern counties here right now. Let's switch things back over to reflectivity mode with the radar. The warnings continuing, and again, these are moving so quick. I mean, they're going to start dropping the tornado watch counties behind this line because the threats will be kind of over with. Now, I will say this, we're watching the northern edge of this east of Moequa and kind of coming in there into southern Macon County. And that's just kind of clipping there. So you've got Bethany. We're going to watch that there because you've got some fairly strong winds. And once we look at the velocity here, there's your kind of brighter greens that are showing up, which can indicate some of those more intense winds. I will say it's not looking all that impressive, but again, we are in kind of that radar middle area.
We can hear Jacob now, Kevin, if need
Okay.
be.
Go ahead and pull him up here. See what he's got to say. He's down there. Jacob, what do you got?
We had him.
Hey, I'm not sure what kind of delay I am on. I am listening through Facebook Live right now, so there might be a bit of a delay here for you. I do want to mention that we are in Altamont now. The power is out in town at this time. There's no power, and the wind really starting to pick up here on my position. And so you're seeing the wind really start to rumble here as we are watching it. Good. Okay, I can hear myself. That's good. Again, power out in Altamont. A lot of strong wind as the leading edge of the line is coming on through now. Probably looking at some gusts at 40 miles an hour right now as we're moving south to I-70. We are going to follow this on I-70 off to the east and see what kind of wind and what kind of stuff we get here. So now if you're familiar with Altamont, we're on the south side by the McDonald's and the Dollar General. And some of those gusts are getting a little breezy here with folks out and about right now, low visibility. So we're going to hop on I-70 and head to the east and follow this. Wind picking up a little bit here. So that's what I've got reported from Altamont. We will send it back to you, Kevin.
All right, thanks a lot, Jacob. Appreciate that. You can see he is in that heavy, heavy rainfall that is coming down. As I mentioned, the power is out over there. He's just went underneath that overpass there. Lost the signal for a second. But we see his shot, and he's down there. So it looks like those winds are pretty strong where he is. What I'm going to do is we'll switch things back over to kind of show his location. There's Altamont. And again, we're kind of in this radar in-between spot between the Lincoln Weather Service radar and the St. Louis radar. It is kind of that middle ground area, but it is the spot that he is located where those winds are. I know you look at radar, so I don't see much there. I think there might be some contamination that's going on there, a little bit of a drop. But you can see on this kind of southern end of this, heading into Mason, there's almost a little bit of a bowing that's happening here. And so what I mean by that is you get this bowing segment that occurs, and you can get the winds that are definitely strong, and they're kind of pushing out. And so you get right along here, and you've got those really strong winds that are kind of coming through. So that's what we're watching. Southern portions of Effingham County right now have the highest threat for some of those winds to come through. The severe thunderstorm warning continues for this area. And again, we're going to be just kind of monitoring this. Jacob is out there. The severe weather threat is not, extremely high, but this does have what is known as the tornado possible tag attached to it. The severe thunderstorm warning does. So the National Weather Service comes out and they attach the tornado possible tag in these because sometimes they can spin up and produce a tornado, and not just the winds. And so and these are embedded. This is basically a little line segment. A QLCS is what we call it. And so these sometimes can tap into some of that, especially along the warm front. And we mentioned that warm front that's out there. It's draped across the state right now. And it is where we have that concern for maybe a quick little spin up to occur with any of the storms. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up another one of my products here to kind of show what's going on. And it's going to give us an idea of just what these storms are doing. So as I mentioned, so now we're looking at Effingham County here, Watson, Mason, Edgewood. And this is going to be coming into Seth territory here before too long. Believe it or not, the whole weather team in here this afternoon. That's right, Adam and Seth. And then Jacob's out in the storm tracker right now. And so we're watching this whole line, which again, maybe doesn't look as intense, but what I have to do is I have to switch over to the Lincoln Weather Service radar. And let's see what this looks like up here in Moultrie and Shelby County. You can see there are still some gusty winds along that. And it's right here. See right along this boundary that comes right through here. These are your leading edge kind of gust front, so to speak, winds that can be strong. And you can see down here near Watson, maybe some higher levels of that reflectivity and that data coming back, which would indicate some of those stronger winds. And so that's what we're watching here right now. Again, as I mentioned, these storms are racing off here to the east at a very fast clip. Notice there's a little bit of a northeasterly trajectory on these. And so we're going to watch into Douglas County, maybe even clipping southern Piatt County, but then you're getting really close to where that warm front is located. And again, once these storms cross the boundary, the front there, they will lose some of their characteristics that allow them to be severe. Basically, they go from what we call surface-based to elevated storms, and that happens at that boundary. And you get into that more stable atmosphere in places like Champaign and Decatur, and those storms cannot sustain themselves. They fall apart, and because they need that energy, and those storms do not have it in the areas north of that boundary line. You can see that boundary is probably somewhere through Douglas County right now. And so you're looking at Coles County, in Edgar County, Effingham County right now, over into Clark County for that potential for any of these storms. They continue to trim back the tornado watch here. We're going to get an update on that because we're going to probably remove some of these counties before too long, but that's what we've got until 6 p.m. Let's see what Jacob Shot has. He's back in the, looks like he's hopped back on the interstate now. Probably heading east there on the interstate and heading towards, I guess, Effingham. Here before too long.
Jacob, we'll come to you real quick.
So Jacob, if you want to chat, let me go ahead and switch you on here.
You're up.
Hey, Kevin. We're back at I-70 now, heading to the east, and we are between Altamont and Effingham now. We just passed the rest stop that's there on the westbound side of I-70. We're kind of almost getting a little bit back ahead of this storm. There has certainly been some blustery winds swishing around here. I'm starting to get ahead of things now, so you can see the camera I've got behind us. That's looking back to the west, and plenty of rain here. It is hard to make out any structure on a day like today. It's kind of a soupy, a lot of moisture in the air, and so we're really just seeing the driving rain push on through. And we'll be riding this into the Effingham area over the next little bit. A lot of traffic slowing down on the westbound sides, even some on the eastbound side too. I'm hitting some of that heavier rain now where visibility has certainly gone down under a quarter of a mile. But we will continue to move off to the east. Again, all I've seen so far is in Altamont. The power was out for a bit. We saw that there were no lights on at really any part of town. We came in on the northwest side, shimmied our way through downtown, and then snuck on out on the south side there by the interstate exit where McDonald's and Dollar General is. And none of those facilities had any lights on. So we'll probably be able to see some Ameren reports on power outages soon. We're going to keep moving to the east here and look for reports and updates. I see that wind surge to the south as well towards Watson. We might try and cut that off over by Montrose or Teutopolis or whatnot, but we will continue to watch things here in Effingham County. Live in the Storm Tracker, I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey, 2 miles away from the I-57-70 split southwest of Effingham. We will send it back to you, Kevin.
All right, there we go. Jacob there is his shot. As you can see, heavy rainfall there on the interstate. And as he was just kind of mentioning there, there is a definite uptick in the severe weather, the kind of the reflectivity there, as you can see, just south of Effingham, and that bowing. I talked about kind of that bowing here, and essentially what you've got are these winds that are pushing out, and you create this little bowing segment that occurs, and really strong winds pushing basically the line out ahead of itself, and you get this little kink that's in here, and those are your really strong winds, and we have got those in place down there, and it's no surprise then that we've had reports that some areas have lost power. I think we actually had somebody in the chat that's over here, and again, we are monitoring and watching what you guys are saying in the chat here with us, and it looks like some people were talking about the power is still out in the Altamont area. So this thing's going to cross 45, and you could see just how much more intense this line is. Okay, and as it heads kind of just outside of our viewing area, we kind of cover here to Effingham County. That's kind of the southern point of our viewing area that we really cover. We still kind of talk about Jasper and Crawford County there a little bit. This thing is now on 45 and some really strong winds there. We can zoom in even more. This thing rocking through Effingham. Let's take a look at our Effingham camera and see if we can see anything, because this thing may not be able to see a whole lot. Looks like the heavy rain is coming down almost kind of sideways there. So some really strong winds with this. And our camera, what we'll do here, I'm going to take this, we'll take it full, and then I will move our camera around a little bit and just see what we've got here in terms of that storm that's coming through in the Effingham area right now. We'll pan this down a little bit so we can maybe see some of the trees and things and whatnot. So again, our camera is actually located at the hospital there. And so we'll just kind of pan this around a little bit, give you a little bit of view. Matter of fact, you can see the top of the roof there of the hospital. As we click it around a little bit, and you can see the heavy rainfall. What I'm looking for is, seeing if any of the trees and whatnot are kind of swaying in the wind. We can definitely see the sheets of rain, driving rain with that storm as it's kind of coming through Effingham. And I got to tell you that the strongest part is actually just south of Effingham, but you can definitely see how that rain is really kind of picking up, being driven across the sheets of rain that are coming through there right now. So I know many of you are watching down there. Reading comments from Amy, who says, yes, my power is still out in rural Effingham. Amy there, power is, Altamont, I should say. So power is still out down there. Starting to rain in Effingham now. Bev tells us, yep, we can see that on our camera there as well. Raining hard in Chatsworth. Again, you're looking at a live view on our weather camera that we have in Effingham of the storm as it is roaring across the entire county right now. Severe thunderstorm warnings continuing for Cumberland, Effingham, Jasper, and Shelby County. Many counties are, like I mentioned before, being kind of taken away. And again, to answer some of the questions here, Kale, who's asking, is this heading to CU? And not necessarily. The severe part of this is mainly across our southern counties. So what we'll do is kind of come back. Carolyn says, it just got really still southeast of Edgewood, she says. So let's come back over to the radar now, see what we've got here in terms of our storm, and we'll zoom back in on this area. Again, there is that tornado possible tag. So this is heading towards Seth country right now. Does Seth have a mic on? Do you have a mic? Is there?
I can get him one.
There, or just throw him yours. And Seth, you're familiar with the area down there right now. What can people be looking for down there if that storm is coming into your neck of the woods there in Effingham County? What do you got down there?
Well, just kind of taking a look here, Kevin, because I've been looking at some other stuff too. But yeah, that looks to definitely be down towards that Diedrich area. Anywhere out there, it's kind of rural out there towards that direction. Not a whole lot of places aside from Diedrich. Of course, Montrose a little bit there to the north. But as far as you go further south, a lot of just smaller towns there without a whole lot of population. So, I mean, I guess that is one good thing that it's not anywhere big with those big metro areas like Effingham is. But for sure, seeing some stuff heading there towards Diedrich. And a lot of those smaller townships, like you see Mason on there, Lucas, Watson, those are actually some pretty small townships down there that direction. Anywhere in the southeastern part there of Effingham County, as you head closer to Clay County, is really not quite as densely populated. So still keep an eye on that stuff because, like you said, with the tornado possible tag down there, that direction doesn't matter how dense or sparsely populated is obviously a big deal that people need to know about if stuff's heading down there that direction. But basically, that's what I've got. Just kind of an emptier part of Effingham County down there that direction.
Well, there you go. So I'm sure some of your friends and family down there will get you any reports if they get anything. Again, we had reports back towards Altamont as that came through, a power that is out even just within our chat room here. Some of you telling us that that is the case. And so as we kind of zoom it out just a little bit more, this thing's going to ride there and maybe take a little bit more of a northeasterly turn. So Casey, I'd be kind of down the line there, kind of watching that kind of come through. There's Newton down there as that moves to the east. And then we kind of widen the view out just to kind of show you what else is going on. And you can see this line that we had into Moultrie and Shelby County, the storm there is still coming through. Hammond, you're going to see that. But the severe thunderstorm warnings that we've got down there, it looks like they are still in effect. We're just going to kind of watch that carefully as they lift off to the north. Again, if you're asking about Champaign, as I mentioned, the front, there's a front that's essentially hanging across the area. There's a warm front, and it's located probably somewhere like there, give or take. And so once these little line segments get up in this more stable air, they're going to lose any of their severe potential. But anything that is below that, right now, this is the area of concern for any of the severe weather. So we're going to have to watch out for that activity as they continue to kind of move off into these. But there's kind of some broken line segments. You can see one, they're from Hammond coming into the Lovington area, and then kind of another one here that is in eastern Shelby County, Stewartson to Neoga. And then that third one, which is kind of coming into the Diedrich area. and heading towards the Louisville area and along Highway 45, US 45 there, that stretches all the way to the south, the same 45 that comes all the way up and in Champaign. And so if you're asking about Danville and Champaign, you just got general rain up here. Nothing severe in Clinton, nothing severe in Champaign or St. Joe. We're just going to watch this whole line that is down there. Anything more from Jacob that he's got for us? Okay. So we're just going to watch that line as it continues to move off here to the east. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue. Again, now we're talking the extreme southern portion. Power out in Edgewood now, so we're getting that. Winds picking up there in Effingham. Power is out. Heavy sheets of rain blowing around north of Mattoon on 45. Let's click it back over to our camera in Effingham, see if it has changed at all. And it actually looks a little bit, just a little bit calmer than what we had just a bit ago. So there's the view. We'll pan it around a little bit more, see what we see down there. Looks like it's kind of hard to tell, but I'm sure power is still on there in Effingham. We would be hearing about that. We do not have any tornado warnings that are in effect, just severe thunderstorm warnings, but these storms have what is known as the tornado possible tag associated with them. Basically, it means, well, we totally don't think that a tornado is going to occur. It is definitely a possibility given the current setup and what is in place. As I mentioned before, we continue to watch this warm front just sit across the area. Look at the temperature now in Taylorville with this front coming through. They're back down to 53, but Mattoon to Paris and Effingham are still pretty warm. We've got our other cameras that we can look at here. We'll switch things over to, let's do Mattoon, because we had some people saying that the winds were picking up in Mattoon, so we can take that and show you the Mattoon camera. And it looks pretty similar to what we were looking at there in Effingham. The heavy rainfall that is coming down, and maybe some gusty winds there as well. Let's see, I don't think that you guys actually have a warning in effect for you at this moment. The only severe thunderstorm warnings that we have continue to be down into Effingham County. Yeah, power in Effingham is still on, so we're good there. It's pouring in Sullivan. Those are some of the reports that we are getting in from our viewers that are out there and watching. Let's see, we still got Jacob shot here. Let's see, there's Jacob. Looks like he's still on the interstate there. He's probably trying to play catch up on that. I see him there trudging along. Looks like he is fighting some rain, fighting the heavy rainfall that is out there and really kind of dealing with it. I don't know if he's out there, but if he wants to give us an update, we'll switch you back on here. Jacob, what do you got?
Hey Kevin, I'm on I-70 right now. I'm having troubles hearing you on the IFB with the phone there, so just wanted to relay that back. Seth's texting me and telling me when to get go. We are moving on I-70 east now. We are getting close to the Montrose actually. You're probably about halfway between there and the I-57 north split. Not really seeing a whole lot out here as far as structure. There's a lot of driving rain and wind here that's been whipping around. We're almost along or kind of riding in the back edge of that leading edge of the gusty winds here. Traffic certainly taking things slower across this area. There's a lot of water ponding on the roadways, but it's nothing where I've seen any damage or anything like that from my vantage point. Lights were all on in Effingham on the north side there. That doesn't mean there wasn't damage somewhere, but from what I've seen, I've not seen any power outages after the Altamont area. As we continue off to the east here, Kevin, we'll probably sneak up towards Toledo and Karina. Might make it as far as KZ, and then we will continue to watch them here. I have not heard if somebody in either Seth or Adam can text me if there is any damage or anything they've heard down this way. I can go check that out and investigate it. These storms are moving quick. I'm keeping up as much as I can here, but this is a fast-moving line, unlike the storms we had in January. And with all of the rain shrouding the view here, not able to make any structure out, but I can see areas that are darker, and it seems like from my vantage point, maybe the stronger wind is probably going to be down to my south, as I'm kind of right in the middle of that gap between the segment that's from north side of Effingham up towards Paradise, and then the area from Montrose down through Seth's hometown. So kind of in a middle spot there. So we'll continue to follow this batch of storms off to the east from the storm tracker here as we are rolling out of Effingham County. Soon we'll be in Cumberland County on I-70 very shortly from now. That's my update from the storm tracker here. I will go ahead and send it back to the studio. Kevin.
All right, thanks a lot, Jacob. Appreciate the report down there. We put him out in the storm tracker just in case, you know, he's down there, may come across some damage. Don't forget, as always, you can download our news and weather apps. See that code, the QR code? You can actually scan that right now. If you scan the code, it'll take you to the page where you can download our apps. And that's another way to kind of keep up with us when we do our live streaming, is right there on our news and or weather apps as well. So check that out right now. I want to show you the tornado watch that continues to get trimmed back a little bit. There it is. You can see that, you know, places in Fayette County not in it, and before too long, what will happen is the National Weather Service will take the Christian County probably off there and Macon County, and you're going to start to see less and less of the counties with the watch in effect. It goes until 6, but we're already starting to see that trim back. So that's Mattoon. Let's check in on our camera in Charleston right now. And again, not seeing a whole lot. So I know there was, you know, a lot of talk about the potential for severe weather. So far, looks like we've largely missed out on quite a bit of it, which is some good news. There's some power outages in a few spots here tonight down in Effingham County, but right now, the largest concern heading into Clay County there. And again, as we look at the radar view of this and we zoom it in, you're seeing the most intense line there coming into places like Newton. And it'll be coming across just south of I-70 is where the worst of that is. And Jacob was just mentioning how he's even having trouble keeping up with the line because it's moving so fast. There's a look at it. That's just a 15-minute loop. That's how far that line is moved in just 15 minutes. And you can see that it's moving across a quarter, half of a county there every 15 minutes or so. So it's definitely moving at a pretty good clip. So before too long, the severe weather threat is going to be ending for a lot of us. Let's take you back up here and just kind of look at these other little line segments. We definitely got some heavy rainfall. But again, I would guess to say that warm front's somewhere there along US 36. And so you can see that little line segment that actually is crossing it. And so now you lose some of the characteristics and any chance of severe weather. So we're not too concerned. Cooks Mills earlier, I know you guys had some hail earlier, but that is not the case with this. We've not heard too many hail reports. More than anything, you're talking some heavy rainfall. As a matter of fact, I'm going to switch on the lightning because I don't even think we've really had even that much in the way of lightning with any of this. Unless our lightning tracker is off, I don't see. Okay, there's a few. I see a few lightning strikes there. A few little bolts, which ironically is actually up into Douglas County here. And again, as I mentioned, also looks like a couple over here near Danville, east of Oakwood. Otherwise, where we actually have the severe thunderstorms, there's no lightning down there, which is pretty amazing. But again, this is kind of a different little setup here that we've got today. Very different from what we had back in January. The severe weather threat is still relatively low, with the exception of right along this line. And again, along that line is where that is located. So again, the severe weather threat is continuing here for the next kind of hour or so for our far southern counties where that is the case, pushing out of Effingham and along I-70 there, and those will be racing off into Indiana before too long. So again, you're just looking at general rain now from places like Champaign to Charleston. We're going to watch these little tiny little segments that are in there, these little line segments that are right here. These are your areas of highest concern. As I mentioned, as I circle that area there, you've got a little bit of lightning that's showing up, but far less than you normally would have with any kind of a line like this. And so it is kind of rare to have such little lightning in this current setup. But again, you can see the highest threat is going to be where that kind of curve is located. Basically what that is a little bit of a bowing segment where the winds push into that and helps to enhance the winds on the leading edge and the apex of where that little line is. And so that's kind of going to be coming into places like Newton here before too long. But pushing out of Effingham County, as I mentioned earlier, our cameras that we were showing you from places like Mattoon and Charleston and Effingham, you can just see things look a lot calmer on our Effingham camera than they did just 20 minutes ago. And Mattoon was seeing similar conditions there as well. The dark skies, and yeah, still may look kind of ominous, but the severe weather threat definitely winding down there in Charleston. As I mentioned before, places like Danville, you're not really a big concern. Yeah, you're going to have some rain with this, but the severe weather threat for places like Danville and Champaign is really low. And the reason for that, well, if you step outside, it's still cold. And that's because that front did not make it all the way to the north. It's literally sitting, kind of bisecting there through probably the southwestern corner of Champaign County and into Douglas County there. And so you've got this small little corridor into Edgar, where it's 68 degrees in Paris, where it's still 69 in Effingham, where there's just that small severe weather threat area. But you don't have to worry about anything in areas there north of, well, I-72 and I-74 for sure, because you don't have that same energy to tap into. And as that occurs, you've got less and less of this tornado watch as counties continue to get kind of dropped off from that. Now, yes, there's still some gusty winds that are out there with this. Right now, the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect is only for Clay, Jasper, and Richland County. I know there's some people saying, well, it's still kind of gusty here in Coles County, but as of right now, not meeting the criteria of 58 mile per hour winds, which is what the Weather Service uses to say, hey, this storm here could be severe, so we've got to put a warning out. Yes, you can see right there when we zoom in, right there in Mattoon, we had some people saying, hey, it's kind of gusty still. You just had that storm kind of roll right across, right through there. So Lerna and then Charleston, you're going to get maybe those, let's say, subpar severe winds at 50 miles per hour come through, and you may say, hey, that looks pretty bad. And yeah, you get 50 mile an hour winds, that's still going to transport some things that are loose, that are outside, that are not tied down. But again, they have to get to that 58 mile per hour criteria to eventually issue that warning. So all of this is moving off here to the east at a very rapid pace at 50 to 60 miles per hour. Strong gusty winds all along that line. And again, the potential is there for severe weather to occur, at least along that southern edge where those winds are pretty strong. But this is essentially going to be kind of moving out of what we consider to be our viewing area. Our viewing area kind of ends there just kind of south of I-70, but we're just going to kind of watch that line come through and just watch these storms kind of move across portions of Coles County here and Douglas County. Again, what's so amazing is how little in the way of any lightning there actually is with these storms. We probably had more lightning and thunder with the morning round that came through 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock here this morning. Here's another look at Jacob's Shot as he has been down there driving. Looks like he's been trying to get back ahead there on I-70, and he is making his way, I think, towards Casey. He's going to try to get up there, but right now he's just kind of in that heavy rainfall. So you got to be careful of the ponding on the roadways there, as you've had some really heavy rain move through on the area interstates. And so that's kind of a concern too, because of just how much rain some areas have seen and will continue to see as we go throughout the course of this evening. Here's a look back to the Storm Tracker Doppler radar once again. And we've got the rain. I can hear the rain here outside our studio, but we are on that cool side of things. The warm sector is where you'd have that severe weather, which is closer to I-70. And you've got, again, that potential for some strong storms to occur still near the I-70 corridor as of right now. You guys see anything over there? You guys have any reports of any damage or anything?
Only thing I've got, Kevin, is that this is kind of not even severe related. At 344 near Vandalia, 50 mile an hour wind gusts from a spotter. That's about it.
Gotcha.
So that's outside of the thunderstorms.
I haven't had any kind of damage-related reports come through yet either.
Lake Mattoon, heavy rain, some big-time winds coming through. Quick flash of lightning in Tuscola. We're reading some of your guys' comments. High wind gusts in Mattoon. Trees down in Edgewood. So that Edgewood area we talked about earlier that had lost some power. So from Edgewood and Altamont, all down there. Raining down in the Jewett area. And people reminding people, if you have your wipers on, make sure you turn your headlights on. Always a good reminder to do that as well. Okay, let's see here. I think all right, so Jacob's still on the line here with us. So let's go to him one more time before we might wrap things up here. And Jacob, you're fighting semis and very large. I don't know what you're passing there, but that thing is huge. Be careful there. What is that? A bunch of RVs or something? Boy, I tell you, that's tough. We know how tough it can be, driving in rain when you pass a semi. That they blow all that wind and rain on top of you there. What have you encountered there? Where are you at, and what are you experiencing?
Yeah, Kevin, they actually kind of looked like they were either some sort of HVAC systems or something like that. I kind of briefly glanced at them, but white knuckle in it on the roads here as you pass those semis, and they're picking up all that water. You can see the one in front of me, just to give you an idea of how much water is kicking up there. There's a lot. And the rain pretty heavy here. Perhaps the best thing out of today for the Storm Tracker is it's been a free car wash for it here. There's been plenty of rain to go around, and that rain's going to continue with this line pushing off to the east. I have been hearing some reports further to the north, parts of Ford County. I got a couple of messages about some minor flooding in the Gibson City area, and I think up there certainly have plenty of water to go around, so we'll keep an eye on that as well too. But on the severe side here, definitely windy. We've had a lot of that wind. I've occasionally hit and miss here and there, hit some pockets of wind as I'm driving in. They say it's going at 60 miles an hour off to the east. Really, the part of the storm that's quote unquote severe, it's in the middle of all of that rain as is. And so there's lots of moderate rain that just continues as these storms continue off to the east and whatnot. So we're kind of embedded in there where you all of a sudden lose visibility a bit and hit some wind, and then the rain lets up a little bit and whatnot. So that's been the big story for us here. I have not seen any, you talked about it, Kevin, I have not seen any thunder or lightning. Have not heard any thunder, have not seen any lightning from my vantage point. So we have just seen plenty of rain and water, and folks are certainly hearing that wherever you are when this batch of rain comes on through. So location check here, we just passed by Greenup. Next stop at about 9 miles with the Casey exit. I think that's where we're going to get off and check things out and consider moving back to see if there's any damage or not. But it seems like so far, Kevin, we've scraped through with relatively few bumps and bruises across the region, which is a good thing here. So that's kind of what we'll watch. Really, maybe that flooding directly a little further north is something to keep an eye on too. But yeah, the wind has been there, the rain has been there, and we'll continue to be moving off the east here for a little while longer before we stop up in Casey. Live in the Storm Tracker, I am meteorologist Jacob Dickey. We will send it back to you, Kevin.
They said, Joyce says, lots of water standing around Gibson City, still rainy. What is with that Gibson City and standing water?
There's some parts of town, I know exactly where they're flooding. Anytime we get a couple of inches of rain, those same spots will pond with that water. And that's going to be up on the northwest side there by the water tower. It'll be up at probably North Park's got a little bit too. That's been doing that since I'm a kid. As long as we can get this rain out in the next hour or two, I think we'll be okay. But I know people up in Gibson City are a little sensitive about that issue after a couple of years ago with what they went through. The good news is we just don't have extreme torrential rain sitting over the same area for an extended period of time. We've got moderate rain out there continuing, but the other thing that's probably helpful, Kevin, is is it could be a bit worse if we had some frozen ground in place, but we've been so warm, the ground will help by soaking some of that water up too. So not surprised. There's some flood prone spots. Every town's got them. And I've seen a few of those pictures circulate on through from earlier as the rain was really moving through this morning into the early afternoon before we hit the roads. So we will keep an eye on that. But hey, if anything, think about how much snow this would be if we turned all the rain into some frozen precip, Kevin. It'd be quite an event for us. But instead, we're dealing with the warm front, dealing with the warm. Kevin, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jacob. Appreciate the report down there again, down in Effingham County. And yeah, as I mentioned before, lots of heavy rain that has been down there throughout the course of the day. Gonna get ready to wrap our coverage up here. Just a quick little update here on the radar before we do so. You can still see it is raining good. Gibson City, Paxton, to Rantoul, and in Champaign. This is not severe, but we will continue the heavy rainfall. Same can be said in Tuscola, to Newman, and Oakland. And yeah, still maybe some gusty winds there in Charleston. A quick glance back at our Charleston camera to show you guys what it looks like right now. And we have got, again, heavy rain, but nothing that looks to be all that abnormal. You can see kind of the sheets of rain that are kind of blowing across there on the camera, so that will continue to be the case. As we head to the south, that area continues to see heavy rainfall in Effingham County. You notice the radar picking up a little bit more there as you head into Clay and Jasper County with those gusty winds. But I think we're going to wrap up our coverage here for right now. We've been on here with you guys even longer than we probably normally would have been, just to kind of follow that line along. But it looks like the severe weather threat, again, is going to be ending here before too long. But we're going to watch out for any some delayed reports that may come into us here and pass those along to you coming up at 5 and 6 o'clock here tonight. Continue to monitor any of your chat messages, Facebook, Twitter, and email. If you did get any damage reports, let us know about that. But again, things kind of winding down. I anticipate that this tornado watch that is in effect technically for the next 2 hours is going to start getting trimmed back a ton. They have not done that just yet, but I anticipate that's coming here pretty soon as well. But as of right now, largely kind of dodging the bullet, as we've had maybe a few reports of some power lines down, some power outages possibly down in Effingham County. But largely things hopefully improving here the next half an hour or so. Anything else from the fellows over here? Adam, Seth, Jacob have been out there. Of course, if anything changes, you know we're always here to keep you guys up to date. Thanks to everybody who tuned in here, and we will see you the next time. Thanks a lot, guys.